The Baltimore Ravens get absolutely humiliated by the Houston Texans in week number 5. We talk about what happened in the game, as well as a lot more coming up on this instant reaction edition of Locked On Ravens.
You are Locked On Ravens, your daily Baltimore Ravens podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Ravens. Welcome in to the show. I'm your host, Kevin Oestreicher of Ravens Wire, here with you on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks so much for being here, making Locked On Ravens a part of your day and your first listen each and every single day. And thank you out there to all the everydayers, the first-time listeners, and if you're somewhere in the middle, thank you as well. Jam-packed show today. Look, the Ravens, they get absolutely destroyed by the Houston Texans, 44-10. Honestly, the game didn't even feel that close. It was that much of a beatdown. And the Ravens, they need to do the most soul-searching they've ever done. So we're going to talk about just what happened in this game, where it all went wrong, why it all went wrong, and what the Ravens need to do moving forward here. Because again, like this, you can't survive. Like I hate when you have to talk about people losing jobs. You know, I never want someone to lose their job, but this is the type of game where multiple people, or at least one person, in my opinion, has to answer for. And, you know, there are multiple discussions about who that person could be. So again, appreciate everybody for being here. Want to remind everyone that today's instant reaction edition of Locked On Ravens is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward, Mazda Move and Be Moved. Yeah, I mean, look, this was just disgusting. Like, we can just call it what it is. I mean, the fact that the game didn't even feel as close as it was and the Ravens lost by 34 points is ridiculous. Some quick stats here. Yeah, we got some lovely stats. The Ravens defense, their first 4 games, or for their first 5, have given up 37 plus points. The one game they did not was against the Cleveland Browns in week 2. This defense is bad. They're just a bad defensive unit right now. And, you know, there's no excuse for it. Like, there's no excuse for this. There's nothing that this defense can do properly right now. You know, like everything. They can't stop the run. They can't stop the pass. They can't stop committing penalties. They can't stop blowing coverages. Like, everything this defense does is just awful. It was chunk play after chunk play. And look, injuries tell a story, but they are not the story. Because every team deals with injuries in the NFL. I'm not using that as an excuse. I use it as context. I talked about that on the watch along. You can use injury as context 100%, right? Like, that's exactly what you should do. But in my opinion, when you start using the injury excuse and there are a lot of opinions on what should change and what should happen, and we'll certainly get to all of those. But it's just so bad. And yeah, Cameron with the stat here. CJ Stroud has 4 touchdowns against the Ravens in 4 games. All of them were from today. Yeah, that's the stat that I put out, and, you know, everybody's been talking about it, where in CJ Stroud's first 3 games against the Ravens, that Texans offense scored 0 touchdowns. Well, this is not your same Ravens. This, honestly, in my opinion, and I know there were the Kyle Boulder days and other bad seasons, this might be the worst Ravens team of all time. Like, this legitimately might be the worst Ravens team of all time with the way that they're playing right now. It is just absolutely unbelievable. And, you know, Frank saying it here, the Ravens got embarrassed in their own house. They should be embarrassed. I mean, this has been an embarrassing team for the majority of this season, if not all of this season, honestly. I mean, the Browns game was fine, but it was the Browns. Like, you know, we can be honest about that. I can't believe that we're here right now. And it just feels like there's no urgency, right? Like, we can talk about the play on the field. We can talk about, you know, how the Ravens have all this talent, but they're injured. We can talk about what they're doing coaching-wise, but the vibes are just awful. They are awful. Seems like nobody believes. No one wants to make the extra effort. You know, guys are still, like, players are going out there and playing hard, in my opinion, but, you know, when a game gets so out of hand, as a player, you start to wonder, like, man, I don't want to get injured here. I don't want to do that. And again, I'm not accusing any Ravens player of doing that, but I'm just saying, like, sometimes we've seen it in the past with other players on other teams. Like, that starts to set in, and I don't want to see that set in for this Ravens team, because the season gets so far ahead of you or so far behind you, and all of a sudden you start to kind of wonder, like, what's the buy-in like? And I truly have wondered for a while now, what's the buy-in like on John Harbaugh? He got severely outcoached again today. And it's not just him, it's his coaching staff. And again, like, we can talk about it. Like, I called it out on the watch along where Todd Monken was running these screenplays on third downs. And I'm just like, throw that entire part of the playbook away. Like, why are you calling screenplays? I get you don't want to push the ball on the field. Now, funny enough, the Ravens' one big play offensively came from Derrick Stingley falling down and Cooper throwing that ball on the field and Zay making a really nice adjustment in the air. But it's just like the play calling's been awful. I mean, I don't want to see the Ravens play off coverage ever again. They play so far off. They give such soft cushion. And the Texans just took everything underneath. And the Ravens' mantra on defense for a while now has been bend, don't break, right? That's what we've been looking at. That's what a lot of other people have been thinking about with this team. Is like, okay, they'll allow you to take the short and intermediate stuff, but they rest their laurels on the fact that they're not going to allow you to score in the red zone, or it's going to be all kicks and all field goals. This Ravens team can't stop anybody right now. You can't do bend, don't break with this defense. They break every single time. Another stat for you. The Ravens in their past 2 games, week 4 and week 5, their defense has played 20 total possessions, 20 total possessions. They forced just 2 punts on those 20 possessions. Another game where the opposing team does not get to punt the ball away to Baltimore until about halfway through the 4th quarter. The Texans' drives in this game, just for added context into how bad this game was defensively, and the offense we'll get to, but I think defense is the bigger story in my opinion. The defensive possessions for the Ravens in week 5, touchdown, field goal, touchdown, 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 field goal, touchdown, field goal, punt, end of game. You're not going to win games that way. It's just sloppy all the way around. And when you talk about what this team needs, they need a change. Right? I'm not saying, oh, it's 100% John Harbaugh, or it's 100% Zach Orr, it's 100% this player or this coach or whatnot. But something has to change, because I said this on the watch along too. What's the definition of insanity? It's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Right? It's exactly that. And it seems like that's the pattern the Ravens have fallen into. And look, one of the things that makes the Ravens organization great and has made it great for the entire course of their franchise history is the fact that they're loyal. They're a loyal organization. That helps them get players in the building, helps them maybe get the leg up over other teams for maybe coaches or other when John Harbaugh's hiring for his staff. But sometimes they can be loyal to a fault. And I just think that, look, when you're 1-4, when your season is really, like I've said it for 2 weeks now, I'm going to say it again next week, but really, if you're 1-5 entering your bye, you're toast, in my opinion. They have like a 1% chance to squeak this thing out because their schedule does open up. But again, like you can't keep doing this and expecting stuff to change. And yeah, maybe you'll get some players back next week. Maybe Kyle Hamilton will come back. Maybe Lamar will come back. But the issue, at least defensively, I mean, offensively with Lamar, they're putting up points, but defensively, even when guys like Nnamdi and Roquan and Marlon were in there, they still weren't playing good football. Like, they still weren't playing good football. And yeah, the Ravens got 2 sacks today. That's great. One of those came on a free rush by Kyle Van Noy. There's bad blocking by the Texans O-line. The other one was TJ got forced out of the pocket. Trenton Simpson got him down. But again, it just felt like the Ravens were getting no pressure. Felt like the zones were being super soft. And, just over and over again, this Texans offense, it's not like they were playing the Bills this week or the Lions or even the Chiefs, who, even though their offense wasn't good up until week 4, the Texans offense, I talked about this on the pregame show this morning and all throughout the week, coming into this game, the Texans offense, 18th in the league in rushing at 4.2 yards per attempt. And there's 18. Oh, no, excuse me. I got it mixed up. 20th in rushing. I was looking at Texans defense. 20th in rushing. So even worse, 4.1 yards per attempt on the ground for Houston. And they're 18th in passing, 5.8 yards per attempt there. Conversion rates. This was the second worst third down offense in the NFL. The second worst red zone offense in the NFL. And just for the record, the Texans on third down went 7 of 12, which would put them near the top of the league. In the red zone, they were unreal too. They were 4 of 5. That would put them at the top of the league as well. So essentially, you allowed the Texans to convert an 80% clip in the red zone. For coming in, they were only scoring on 33% of their possessions in the red zone in terms of converting. They were 29.2% on third down coming into this game. The Ravens defense allowed them to put up over 50% on third downs in this game. Hey, if you're an offense and you're not playing super well and you want to get things back on track, come on down to Baltimore. Come and play this Ravens team because they will get you right. They will get you right. And it is embarrassing. It is humiliating. And it is disgusting that we are sitting here for a team that we thought were going to be prime Super Bowl contenders. And I'll still stand on it. Like, best roster in the league when everything's on paper, right? Still weaknesses that I think they should have addressed. And we're certainly seeing those come to light. But on paper, the roster is super talented when everybody's healthy. The problem is not a lot of people are healthy. The coaching staff is calling terrible plays right now. The players aren't executing. Everything is bad right now. Is the season over? No. Does it feel that way? Yes. I know there are two different trains of thought there, but the vibes right now, you're not going to win anything with vibes like this, with kind of the motivation level, really, from what it feels like being like this. And I can't believe that in the span of about a month, the Ravens turned from this favorite Super Bowl contender, like everybody's talking about them, to they're the laughing stock of the league right now. They're the laughing stock of the league. It's 100% a fact. So right now they're in a really, really bad spot. And you got a Rams team coming to town, by the way, next week that just lost to the 49ers, and they are probably very mad about that. So look, something has to change here and quickly for the Ravens. Coming up in the second part of the show, we're going to talk more about this game in particular, what needs to change for Baltimore, what moves they could make, and a lot more. So be sure to stay tuned. We got plenty coming your way on this instant reaction edition of Locked On Ravens. This episode is brought to you by Square. Your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that make the neighborhood the neighborhood. These are the places that become an extension of home, whether it's the sports bar dedicated to your team's fan base, the spot with the best wings in town for game day, or that beloved local chain that's been rooted in a community for years. These businesses are what bring people together. When neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives. And look, sports are something that can bring neighborhoods together, whether it's gathering for game day rituals, celebrating with the best wings in town, or just being a part of the fan base that calls the place home. And in Baltimore, I know tough season for the Ravens, but in Baltimore, Fed Hill, Be More Licks. I mean, Fed Hill is jumping on game days for the Ravens, even though the team's not great this year so far. The support for the Ravens every single game day is unbelievable there. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/LockedOnNFL to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did. Square, see you in the neighborhood. And the show is brought to you by Mazda's, moving the game forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward is, the one big play on offense was Zay Flowers adjusting in the air for that football. The Ravens kept their starters in for the majority of this game too. So in fact, they really didn't take them off the field despite the big loss. So look, Zay and Cooper Rush hitting up on that big play resulted in drive down the field for a touchdown. That you got to keep moving forward, even if the game is not going great. You got to play the game. So Zay with that big play, that was something that, maybe the Ravens can hit on a little more next week. And maybe that's what keeps everybody moving forward there. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Moving along on Locked On Ravens Instant Reaction Edition, Kevin Oestreicher still reacting to that abysmal Ravens game that happened on Sunday, 44-10. Again, didn't really feel that close. Appreciate everybody for being here, especially after a loss. And I know it's tough to maybe watch or listen and consume content after a loss from your favorite team. Look, I've been there. I'm talking about it here for this Ravens team. And, after watching so many seasons and, being a fan on the whole 9 yards, games like this are always tough. So I appreciate you sticking it out with me here. We're 5 days a week plus more on Locked On Ravens, Monday through Friday is the regular show. Plus we got the watch alongs, the instant reaction shows, and we also have the squad show coming up after this as well. We got bonus episodes, the whole 9 yards. So be sure to like and subscribe, video form and audio form. Again, the Ravens right now, they're in shambles. They're a mess. And I just don't know at this point, if the Ravens will actually make a change or not. I believe they have to. I don't think that Zach Orr should be the Ravens defensive coordinator for this upcoming week. I just don't. I believe that, in my opinion, someone has to answer for this game. The defense has been bad now for essentially, you even go back to last year, and this defense wasn't good right? They had to make a bunch of wide sweeping changes to kind of get things under control there. But Zach Orr took a lot longer than a lot of people thought to get into a groove. And now it's the second straight year of this happening, and you just can't afford that. You cannot afford to start this slow because, again, we had the whole conversation. This kind of segues into the offense a little bit with Cooper Rush and everything. Like, Cooper Rush was not good today, right? It is what it is. He was not good. We can look at his total stats. He had 3 interceptions. He went 14 of 20, 179 yards. But this is what we were talking about with bringing in a quarterback like Cooper Rush, who is widely regarded around the league as one of the best backups in the NFL. But the system fit was always weird. Kajir Ismail and I, we talked about that a lot leading up to the season, especially during the preseason. But the thing that Cooper brings to the table is a lot different than what Lamar brings to the table. And, you lose a lot of the threat that Lamar Jackson brings, because Cooper's non-athletic. So, like Derrick Henry, we were talking about, okay, you got to run Derrick Henry. The Texans held Derrick Henry to 15 carries for 33 yards, 2.2 yards per carry. Despite the Texans, I talked about it in the first part of the show, the Texans had the 18th best run defense in the league. They were a middling run unit. But why were they able to stop Derrick Henry? Because you don't have the threat of Lamar Jackson. When Derrick Henry and it was so obvious, like the Todd Monken was telegraphing these play calls. Like when Henry was on the field, oh, there's going to be a run. When Justice Hill was on the field, they're throwing the ball. You got to watch out, Because Ravens running backs not named Derrick Henry in this game, 4 carries. Keaton Mitchell, who was active, 3 for 8. Justice Hill just 1 carry for 3 yards. They're telegraphing these plays in. Like they're telling, it's almost like when the Ravens early in the Lamar era, if you remember, because Mark Andrews wasn't as good of a blocker, they would just run the Nick Boyle side the entire time. And they were telegraphing, oh, whatever side Nick Boyle's on, that's where they're going to run behind. And even like with Ricard at points, like, oh, Ricard's on the field, where are they going to run? They're going to run behind Ricard. Like they're telegraphing their plays right now. And yeah, I see Kamru here saying no push on the O-line. I agree. The O-line was also not good in this game. Like it wasn't. Stanley being out, guys were getting beat one-on-one pretty easily, even on a play that didn't count. Like, for example, Tyler Linderbaum, right? What was I can't even remember the penalty on the play that happened. It was offsides. It was a Will Anderson offsides. And Tyler Linderbaum got pushed so far deep into the offensive backfield in the first half a second that he ended up stepping on Cooper Rush's foot at like the 2 or 1 yard line. And that's what ended up bringing him down. Now, again, the play didn't end up counting because Will Anderson was offsides, but I agree. No push on the offensive line. So I agree with that assessment completely, but it's like, where do you go from here if you're the Ravens? Like the bye week couldn't come at a better time, but you still got one more game before that. 1-4 teams that I saw on the graphic on the broadcast that, at the end of the day, 2 teams since 2020 have started 1-4 and still made the postseason. And again, with the Ravens schedule, it opens up, but you're not going to win any game playing the way that you are right now. If this Ravens team, if this version played the Browns would smoke them. It'd be over with. So I just think, to me, you need to send a message and make a change, because it's not like, oh, this guy's going to get like, oh, he's been performing well, but we got to send a message. So you're kind of like you get the short end of the stick here. No, like the defense has been awful. They're on pace to be a historically bad defense. Like, coming into this game, like I don't even, I'm going to do it, but like, I don't even want to look at the stats after week 5 is over and you look at that defense. Plus on the offensive side of the ball, like, despite the Texans having a really good defense, like, again, I think the Texans defense is very underrated. Still, like, Zay had the big play of the day, the long of 56. DeAndre had the 29-yarder that he got. I think Cooper put it right over Lassiter's head there. But, it's just other guys not making plays, sloppiness. Mark Andrews, Cooper had 3 interceptions, but one of those clearly on Mark Andrews. He bobbles the ball, kind of throws, throws it up in the air, and the Texans come down with it there. Ravens also had 9 penalties for 49 yards. They'd actually been decently better in the penalty department than they have been over the course of, the last couple of years, especially last season, but it kind of fell into their old ways. Only 49 yards, so it wasn't like a lot of big chunk penalties, but even still, it's like, plays that move drives along or stall out your own drives, and that's just tough. I mean, it's unbelievable. The Texans, 27 first downs on offense compared to just 12 for the Ravens offense. But look, this is who the Ravens are without Lamar Jackson. All right. I mean, and honestly, like we're seeing it with the Bengals and Joe Burrow, Jake Browning, and like when these teams lose their star quarterbacks, you can try to put somebody in there that can either replicate the offense or is he's respectable as a backup around the league. It's going to look a lot different. It's going to look a lot worse. And what I've been saying on the watch-alongs or during the shows that we do here Monday through Friday is like, look, even if the Ravens offense, like let's say Lamar Jackson and he was available for this game and the Ravens put up 30 points, right? Hey, Ravens offense has been scoring well with Lamar out there. Ravens offense puts up 30 points. You're still trotting that defense out there every possession and you're giving up 40, 37, 44, 38. Like you can't win games that way. You can't. And again, Lamar Jackson goes in the challenge from Cam Newton. We talked about this with Ravens long snapper Nick Moore on a bonus episode we did for yesterday. And Cam Newton's challenge say, hey, Lamar's out. Can everybody else step up to the moment, step up to the plate and deliver? And whether it be the coaching staff or the players, it fell flat. They fell flat on their face. And now they are staring down a terrible AFC record so that when, September losses, my saying is September losses don't matter in September. I know we're in October, but, early season losses don't matter in the early season. They 1,000% matter when it comes down to seeding and playoffs. And now, you kind of got to wonder, Pittsburgh, they have a bye this week, so they're not playing, but even the division chances, like the Ravens could rattle off a handful of wins and put themselves back in the conversation. And I'm not saying like they're completely buried, but if they play like this and the vibes are like this and they still don't make changes, in my opinion, it is. So again, like I come on here, I talk words about the Ravens and this team leaves me speechless sometimes with just how bad they can be. And it's been such a shift and such a change. And I see Mike talking about it right here. Defenses win championships. There's a reason that's a saying. Yep, offenses win games, defenses win championships. And you can put up 30 points like we talked about, but if you're not also giving your offense a chance to win the game or not giving up a bajillion points, if you give up a bajillion points, you're going to be on the outside looking in. And I see this comment too here about Lamar's contract. Lamar has all the leverage in contract negotiations. He might get $80 million a year. Man, if I'm Lamar, I'm asking for $100 million a season. I'm like, hey, I know you can't do this without me. Give me everything you got. And I think from a team building perspective and everything, obviously it would cripple the Ravens. But like Lamar, I agree. Like Lamar has all those negotiations right now. And yes, Adam, it is true. Lamar's contract for next season does count $70 million against the cap. So they're going to either have to renegotiate that deal completely or restructure it because they cannot operate when it comes to that. And, you have a bunch of free agents. Like I know that there are a lot of conversations right now about just what this Ravens team can do to right the ship, but it's already on such a wrong path. The question now becomes, do they have enough time to right the ship? They have to win almost every one of their remaining games. And we know the Ravens, by the way, are due for like a couple of stinkers against teams they should probably beat. So, you factor that in, you factor in you're losing all these other teams. And, at the end of the day, I just, I can't. It's tough right now. So it's a terrible start. Yep, I see Charles is saying that. I agree with you. And look, there are so many things the Ravens can do to right this ship. I think the big one is making a change. Will they make a change? Well, the loyalty from this organization, I tend to lean no, but in my opinion, I think that they should, and I think that they need to, because at this point, you are really, really in a tough spot right now. So coming up in the final part of the show, going to keep diving into this Ravens team, talk about maybe some roster moves they could make. Is it on the roster? Is it on the coaches? Is it on both? What's going on? And we're going to talk about that a lot more coming up on Locked On Ravens.
I'm Cody Rourke from Locked On Broncos, and this episode is brought to you by Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. This is Peloton's most advanced equipment yet, giving you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or you're cross-training with your favorite instructors like Alex Toussaint. It's training reimagined to make your workout more personal. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with features that help you plan, stay motivated, and hit peak performance. You can let yourself run, lift, flex, and go, while Peloton handles all the rest. Plus, Peloton IQ provides real-time strength coaching, tracking your progress and suggesting weights that challenge you so you can get stronger. Plus, the new movement tracking camera, it counts your reps and corrects your form in real time, making sure every rep is safer and smarter. So let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
Moving along, Locked On Ravens, Kevin Oestreicher. We're still talking Ravens football with you. We're still diving into that abysmal loss in week number 5 to the Houston Texans, and we're still talking about what this Ravens team needs to do to just get out of this rut. Again, it's just that there is so much going on right now with this team, whether it be defensively, offensively, coaching staff-wise, and you just, from a personnel perspective, they're outmatched. From a coaching perspective, they're outmatched. Again, John Harbaugh gets outcoached again. You're just kind of wondering, like, where is the light at the end of the tunnel? And, the Ravens have made tough decisions like this in the past. I mean, firing Cam Cameron during their second Super Bowl season sparked them to win a Super Bowl. They bring in Jim Caldwell, and that was the change they needed. They made some shifts and changes on the offensive line. But, like, does this version of the Ravens, do they have enough to say, hey, yeah, we need to make a change right now? We need to go out there and, make sure that we can do everything possible. And again, like, it's the thing, like the loyalty thing with Eric DeCosta in particular. Right, with DeCosta in particular, I know Harbaugh's like, he's very loyal, like it is what it is, but the Ravens are very loyal, Harbaugh, the whole 9 yards. But like Eric DeCosta has shown in the past, like he does not tolerate like stuff like this. He does not tolerate games like this, losses like this, starts like this. We saw it in 2019 when weeks 3 and 4, they allowed 500 total yards in each of those games to drop to 2-2 after winning their first 2 games. And then, he cut Tim Williams after that game, and he signed guys like Josh Bynes and LJ Ford. He traded for Marcus Peters a couple weeks later. I mean, do they finally like move off of a top pick, like a first round pick, for a guy like Dexter Lawrence or Quinnen Williams or Jeffrey Simmons? I know there have been, could the Ravens move for Kayvon Thibodeau in the edge room? But like, at this point, your season is slipping by the wayside here, and you need to do what you can to get this right, because I don't want to just see them continue to be okay with mediocrity. I've been for years on this show, even before we started doing video. Audio was, started that up in 2019. Video came a couple years after that. Even when the show was only audio years and years ago, I kept talking about how I do not like complacency. Complacency is something that I just, I can't get behind. So when you talk about Lamar's tenure so far, it's like, look, you have the Ravens right now in a situation where something needs to happen. But before that, it needed to happen with Greg Roman, needed to happen with Steve Saunders, and, they just kind of stayed along for a little too long. Lamar in 2018, his rookie year, made the playoffs, saved John Harbaugh's job, losing the wild card round. 2019, they go 14-2, and they, go on that run. They lose in the divisional round. That's growth, right? That's progress. 2020, that was a weird year. 2021, but even still, they still beat Tennessee. Like 2021, 2022, he had like Lamar injury years. 2023, you go, all right, hey, 14-2. That's not what you got this year, but you got an all-time team in 2023. And then you lose in the AFC Championship game. 2024, you take a step back, losing the divisional round. That's a step back there. That's not moving forward. And I'm not expecting the Ravens to move ahead every single season. But, when you're a team with expectations, Lamar Jackson is going to be 29 at the end of this year. You can't waste years of Lamar Jackson's prime. And in my opinion, it seems like the less they try to make changes, the more they are almost like okay with complacency. They're okay with, hey, we're going to be a good regular season team, which, by the way, they are not this season. They are not a good regular season team. But again, like that's the general messaging of like, hey, we're going to be a really good regular season team, usually kind of go off and win 10, 11, 12 games and then lose in the playoffs. It is what it is in the postseason. Like now it's, you're not even good in the regular season. Like what are you going to hang your hat on then? What are you going to hang your hat on then? This team has been a defensive identity team. That's been their identity for like Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Terrell Suggs. They must all be disgusted right now with what's going on that football field. They would never let it get to this point. And, we can talk about leadership from the coaching staff, leadership from everybody that's going on right now. And where is that leadership right now? It feels like they're just a rudderless team that's just kind of floating in no man's land. And again, you're never going to win games like that. You are never going to win games like that, in my opinion. So you're in a bad spot right now. Do I think that Zach Orr, has potential as a defensive coordinator? Absolutely, I do. I truly do. But the Ravens don't have time to wait for him to realize that potential, because it's already hurt them for essentially 2 years at this point now. And they need a coach that is more ready. It's more ready to step into that role. He needs to, and by he, I mean John Harbaugh or Eric DeCosta or this team. They need to just make a tough decision here. It's never easy firing people. And again, it's not like Zach Orr's a problem in the locker room, at least not from what I can tell. It seems like the players like him. Seems like the players, they resonate. It seems like, and I don't know. We might have to talk more. We're probably going to talk more about the messaging and Harbaugh's messaging and Orr's messaging on tomorrow's show. So be sure you stay tuned for that 6 a.m. Eastern time. But right now, it's just everything feels off. And again, I'll scream it from the rooftops. You are never going to win games if your vibes are this bad, because nobody seems bought in right now. Everyone seems like, well, all right, this is how it's going again. Let's throw in a towel. I mean, this game was over by the start of the second quarter, it felt like, and the score wasn't even that. I don't think it was that bad. I'm trying to block it out. I don't think it was that bad by the second quarter. Yeah, 7-3 at the beginning of the second quarter, but then Houston goes 17-0, 10-7, 10-0 to end the final 3 quarters there, which you just, it's unacceptable. It is unacceptable. And look, Adam makes a good point here, and this is what I've been saying on the show for years. You can have the best quarterback in the world. You can have the best running back in the world, best skill position players in the world. It all starts up front for an offense and a defense. It starts up front for all the units. It all starts up front, because Lamar, while he can put on that superhero cape, Derrick Henry can put on that superhero cape, they can't do it all by themselves. They need blocking up front. Rosengarten's been bad this year. Linderbaum's been not Linderbaum. Falele and Voorhees have not been great. Stanley's been in and out of the lineup. Even when he's in the lineup, it's not great. So you just need to do something here. And maybe that's on the offensive side of the ball. Maybe that's the message. Maybe they bench Falele or Voorhees and put Cleveland in there. Maybe Emory Jones comes back and they put him in there. I don't know what the situation is, but you need to do something, because you're not winning games this way. It is now a proven fact. It is a trend. And I don't know why you would keep going to that well, especially with that Sean McVay-led Rams team coming in again. And they are mad and pissed off after what happened in that week number 4 game for them, or week number 5 game, for them against the 49ers, where an injured 49ers team came in there and they beat them. And that's what I'm saying with injuries. It's not an excuse. It's context. Because the 49ers, all of us are suiting up for the 49ers at wide receiver right now. Brock Purdy's been out. It's been Mac Jones, and, George Kittle's been out, and Nick Bosa's now out. And they won that game against the Rams. That to me was why, hey, for me, all eyes were on John Harbaugh. Can he lead a beat up Ravens team to a victory against the Texans team? And the answer to that question was no. So at this point, you need to decide, if you're the Ravens, what do you want your identity to be? What do you want this season to be for you? Are you going to go down with the ship, or are you going to try to plug up all the holes and make it so that you can at least float into the postseason? Because again, if they can even just make it as a wild card team, and I'm not talking playoffs for this team. The way they're playing, they're not sniffing the playoffs. But if they can make it to there, let's do hypothetical. If they can make it there, it's a whole new season in the playoffs. Now, again, that hasn't really benefited the Ravens. They've been not so great in the big moments there, but maybe they just need to be the underdogs. I don't know. It's tough. I don't know if they're going to make a quarterback change next week. If Lamar can't play and start Tyler Huntley, there's so many different things right now that the Ravens have to think about, because, at the end of the day, I'll say it again, they're the laughingstock of the league. Everybody's looking at the Ravens and laughing at them, especially for losing to a Texans team that wasn't that great on offense to begin with, has the worst offensive line in the league. Yeah, you got 2 sacks, but other teams have been dominating that Texans O-line, and the Ravens can't get anything going, even after getting back Travis Jones and Kyle Van Noy in this game. So, look, this is make it or break it time for John Harbaugh. I'm not sure if that means during the season. I still don't think the organization is going to move on during the year, but it is Super Bowl or bust for this Ravens team. And right now, it's maybe even be playoffs or bust, because I don't think they're making it anywhere near a Super Bowl with the way they're playing right now. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see the messaging. Again, we'll talk about that all on the show tomorrow. We also have the Locked On Ravens Squad show coming up right after this. So we'll be live in 15, 30-ish minutes with myself, former Ravens receiver Kadri Ismail, and Sam Njoku, talking more Ravens football. And again, we got that show Monday through Friday for you, 6 a.m. Eastern time. We'll be back here tomorrow with the regular show. So be sure, that's all I got for you on this instant reaction show. Again, appreciate everybody for tuning in, for all the support here on the show and on the channel. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe button in video form, and follow along and subscribe in audio form for 5 days a week plus more of daily Ravens coverage. And I will see you right back here soon on Locked On Ravens.